Welcome to GG Gamer Guides, just for you, quick, simple, and easy guides to get you rolling in For Honor combat. Today in this guide, we're going to highlight a few things in the For Honor menu system and the leveling system, and the preferred things you should get when starting off so that you get a really good rolling start. And then we're going to give you some really good highlights and in-depth mechanics to look at in terms of overall combat in For Honor. One of the things I want to focus on is what can I teach you here that the advanced tutorial and the regular tutorial won't? That's the important thing to gamer guides in general, and it's what I focus on while writing this. Some of the first things you should know is that you will be forced to do the basic tutorial. You will not be forced to do the advanced tutorial. I highly recommend you do the advanced tutorial, as it will teach you some major mechanics you do need to know about in terms of blocking two people at once, countering a guard break, and how to parry. It'll also net you another 1500 steel that you can spend. Now, before you go spending all of this steel on a cheap samurai ladyboy, she wears a mask for a reason, people, you should know that you can and probably should spend it on champion status. Champion status costs 2000 steel, and you can find it in your profile settings. This 2000 steel that you spend gives you more experience, more loot after matches, and more materials from dismantling. Champion status is pretty useful when you're playing a lot, so buy it on a weekend to maximize your total amount of everything that you get from it. You now have 1500 still left. I recommend you do this. Go try out all the different characters and play them. You do not have to unlock the character customization in order to play them. Unlocking the character customization costs 500 steel. Once you play around with a few characters and you figure out which ones you like, I recommend unlocking one or two of them, each costing 500 steel. Once you've unlocked these characters, you're going to start getting gear for them. Now, here's an important thing to note that you won't know from playing the game and that most people won't tell you. Do not spend your steel on loot boxes at first. Max character level is level 20, but afterwards your character can prestige, and there are 10 prestiges in total. When your character prestiges, they are going to get a random assortment of gear that is a fairly high level that will help bring up their total gear level. After you have prestige the first time and you've gone from level 1 to level 20 with champion status on this character, which really only takes a day or two of solid playing, you will have a ton of extra steel and a ton of extra parts. By the way, you also get parts while just playing through the matches, so you're not going to go through a drought of no gear. Any gear that you don't need, dismantle it to use to upgrade other gear. Once you're level 20, spend all of your steel on the one character you prefer, getting them as much gear as possible and going with the type of build you would prefer. Last few things for character customization. Once you level a character up in-game, and leveling a character up in-game versus leveling the character's actual level over the entire game are two different things. In-game, you'll level up and unlock feats. Feats are things that are used on your D-pad and usually give you an advantage in battle. Feats only unlock in Dominion and in Elimination to my experiences. In order to gain experience to unlock feats, you must kill other players, capture points, or kill soldiers. As your character levels overall, you will unlock more feats to customize in the menu before the game starts or out of menu in the hero menu. Out of game menu in the... Yeah, what I said. Now, you'll learn all the mechanics from the basic and advanced tutorials, but implementing the mechanics themselves is another giant learning curve, which we're going to try to get you over as quick as possible. First, you have to think of For Honor as a fighting game, because for all intents and purposes, it is a fighting game. Each character has between 8 and 14 different combos that mix with 3 different stances, guard breaks, parries, and dodges. The mechanical complexity is pretty deep here. There is nothing in the game that you cannot counter in some way. Some mechanics are currently considered a little janky and easily abused and overpowered, but they are constantly looking at the game and in ways to balance it. That being said, even if something feels overpowered to you, yes it can be blocked, yes it can be parried, yes it can be countered, yes it can be dodged. One of those 4 yeses apply to it. What changes from character to character is your knowledge of the fight you are in. This means understanding your character and how they square up against your current opponent. That's character knowledge, which is something we'll get to in a minute. But one of the things I recommend more than anything to begin with is countering guard breaks. I see people guard break all the time, and I see people rarely counter guard breaks. So I cannot insist more than anything, practice countering guard breaks. Make it reactionary. Make it a reflex for you, not make it something you have to think about. There are a lot of people that go from a move to a combo, from one hit to another, using guard breaks in between. If you're able to counter the guard break, it disrupts their flow of going through their combo. Attacks with long animations can sometimes be blocked after a guard break. It's not consistent, as a lot of the time it comes down to their timing in attacking, so always try to block if your guard broken. But more effectively than that, countering the guard break is something you should always try to do first. The advanced tutorial teaches you how to guard break, and I recommend practicing it a lot. It needs to be a weapon you can produce consistently in your arsenal. Countering guard breaks and blocking are two of the pillars that you must master for a solid defense. You must have a solid defense if you hope to ever rebound to an offense. It's easy to string together a few combos when you can see the chance to attack. It's hard to consistently defend against an aggressive attacker. The last thing you must master for a completely solid defense is spacing. Spacing is avoidance, is dodging, is movement, is positioning. Spacing is all of these things working in conjunction with each other in how you defend yourself on the map and in the game. Dodging is tied to spacing, but it's only half of it. Movement is another half of it. Correct positioning can go a long way. Knowing your enemy's moveset range and spacing yourself out correctly can let you win fights without ever blocking. The classic example. The Nobushi has one of the longest ranges in the game for general attacks and several ways to retreat and space you out. The Nobushi is one of the best defensive characters you can play for the keep away game, with long retreating pokes that put bleeds on the enemy, giving time on your side. If you want to learn how important spacing is, fight against an experienced Nobushi player. You'll learn very quickly that you won't be able to touch her, and she'll just keep her distance away from you with that bleed stack. Next is parrying. There is no counter to being parried. Parrying does come with its own risk though. If you mess it up, you're gonna get hit. Faster attacks are harder to parry and give you less warning. Long swinging attacks are fairly easy. I recommend trying to parry these, as avoidance can be fairly hard with large swinging attacks, as they tend to have a long reach as well. Parrying is again like guard breaking counters. It's something I don't see a lot of people doing, and it's very disruptive to your enemy's flow. Lastly are unblockables. Unblockables are, well, unblockable, which goes back to the avoidance, but unblockables can also be parried. Generally, I don't recommend trying to fight unblockables in general, because if you do miss, well, you're going to get hit regardless. But if you miss the parry, you tend to take a lot of damage from unblockables. I recommend just general avoidance with unblockables, as opposed to trying to parry them. However, if you get comfortable with parrying them, do it all the time. Now, there's two other things you can use, such as disengaging in a fight and resetting it. Running is generally a last option in a fight that should be avoided against some characters like the Peacekeeper, which are made to be faster than you and close gaps. If you're about to die, running from a Peacekeeper might just seal your fate. Heavier enemies though, the running option can work in your favor. The quicker enemies, you need to face them toe to toe if you want a chance at living. Those are the basics for defense. Parries, unblockables, avoidance, general spacing is the big highlight I think you should take away from defense. Your positioning on the map for your defense can be paramount to you winning or not, and generally is the reason why you win or not, whether you realize you had good spacing or not in that fight. Funny enough, as we move to talk into offense, the first thing that comes to mind for a good offense is, spacing. Yeah, it's really important, kids, I swear. But let's talk about offense in general. So you have a good defense, now what? People will tell you that the best offense is a good defense, and in many cases that is true. If you have a solid defense, then you can play aggressively, ready with defensive options. Your offensive play style comes down to what kind of player you are and what you prefer. Some people prefer being an extremely aggressive attacker, other people prefer playing very defensively and retaliating when given the chance. I can't teach you what your preferred playstyle is, but I can teach you the basic knowledge for both. First off, knowing your character moveset is again super important and one of the biggest points of any offense. You need to know what moves come out quickly and what are the hardest hitting combos that you have. Counter poke when you see the chance, and when you have a big opening, hit them with a big damaging combo. Learning movesets of different characters will also help you massively, and it's something you should learn over time. Look for certain startup animations. Knowing startup animations tells you what's coming, and allows you to prepare for it. Now, movesets of different characters and startup animations, both of which are things I can tell you to learn and study, but you're going to have to put in your own time, are very important for offense. Another crucial point to offense is, again for the third time today, spacing. Spacing encompasses moving from an offensive distance to a defensive distance, transitioning from one space to another, from one side of your opponent to another, or just not standing near a cliff.
Alright, so try this, just do it again, see if I can. Oh, well, that's... I guess you win that round, Azid.
Spacing has always been important in fighting games. However, in For Honor, it might just be the most important element of the game. Avoiding environmental hazards, making sure you can see oncoming enemies, not backing yourself into a corner, staying out of your opponent's quick striking distance. All those things apply to spacing on defense, and they apply in reverse on offense. Forcing your enemy into a corner or against environmental hazards, creating a lot of space behind them for somebody to easily flank them. Keep them pressured with your movement and backing them up, and quickly dashing forward into striking distance. There are so many things to show and point out when we talk about spacing, but to simplify it, what can you do in the current position your character is in? What can your opponent do in the current position their character is in? Can you forcibly change these positions to be advantageous for you? That is what you always must consider and apply in a scenario of spacing. The implications for that can be massive in terms of total game mechanics, but it's something that you must consider, and it's something that you will learn when you gain map knowledge, when you gain moveset knowledge, when you gain frame data knowledge, which is something we're not even going to get into. The most important things that you should take away from this tutorial are that there are a lot of things that cross over from offense and defense and apply to both. Practicing is one of the things I can't recommend more than anything else. Practice is going to make perfect. It's going to be a lot easier if you consistently practice these mechanics and these type of moves over time. Moveset knowledge is not something you're going to have instantly. It's something you'll learn over time after playing, and spacing is again something you won't learn instantly, but you will have to learn based on the map and based on the enemy you're fighting. But these are things that you should keep in mind in every engagement and try to learn more from. If you lose, take it as a loss, but learn why you lost, what you could have done differently to win that engagement. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any other suggestions, tips, comments, or anything like that, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you like the channel and you like the video, feel free to hit that subscribe button and like the video. That's going to do it for me. Basic wrap up. If you'd like to come watch us on twitch.tv/3gunsdown, that's where I'll be streaming all the For Honor action in the coming days. And if you want to support the channel, you can do it directly over at patreon.com/3gunsdown. You can also go to our affiliate link at Green Man Gaming and save yourself up to 20% on a new game if you have a new account, or 5% total. It helps you save money and it gives a little bit back to us. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook for social media updates. I'm Guns, and that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this For Honor tutorial. I'll see you later.